Welcome to the Listen Up podcast, where we explore hearing loss, communication, connections, and health.
Hey everybody, Dr. Mark Sims here. I'm the host of the Listen Up podcast, where I feature top leaders in healthcare. This episode is brought to you by Listen Up Hearing Center. I help patients to effectively treat their hearing loss so that they connect better with their friends and family and remain independent. The reason I'm so passionate about hearing loss is because I lost my brother Robbie twice. First to his hearing loss from radiation to his brain tumor, and then when he passed away. I only care for ears. I'm the E of ENT. I've performed over 10,000 ear surgeries and taken care of many more with hearing loss over the past 20 years. I'm also the founder of Listen Up Hearing Center, where we treat hearing loss, and I'm the author of a book, Listen Up, A Physician's Guide to Effectively Treating Your Hearing Loss. If you want to learn more about that, go to listenuphearing.com. I'm excited for our guest today. It's Beth Eckel. She's an award-winning artist and passionate for creating custom anatomy art. Beth studied classical realism and painting at the Barcelona Academy of Art in Spain, where anatomy is the foundation of art education. She fell in love with the extensive beauty, form, and function hiding beneath our skin. Beth has helped medical professionals enhance their healthcare environment through her anatomy art. She enjoys working directly with them to bring their vision to life. I'm excited to have her in here. The way I learned about Beth is she sent me an anatomical drawing, and that's how I kind of learned about it. Your company's name, Beth, again, could you remind? Doctor's Art Gallery, is that what it is?
Doctor's Art Gallery.
Okay, well, tell me a little about your pathway to art and then to anatomical art.
I've always been an artist. I love art. It's a calling. It's inside me, as it is with a lot of artists. But anatomy art, like you mentioned, I went to the Barcelona Academy of Art, and they teach anatomy as a foundation of art. I didn't get a lot of that art education here in the US. So it was kind of my first time. And I just fell in love. All these pieces working together to make us living, breathing beings is just incredible. And it's so complex. So it's a real challenge, but one that I really enjoy.
And so as they teach it to you, is it cadaveric art, meaning looking at actual bodies? Is it looking at other people's art? Is it imaging? I mean, how do you get the, so for instance, I know behind you over your left shoulder is a cochlea, right? That's my area of expertise. That is a very small structure. The drawing's much bigger. Like, how do you get that information? What's the process of them giving you that information?
It's through books, both artist anatomy and medical anatomy.
Okay. And so you study both of them and then create your own synthesis of it, or how does that work?
It depends. I take a little liberty with some, but when I'm working with medical professionals, I work with them through the process to make sure everything's anatomically correct.
And so what type of references do you use? I
have a whole bookshelf
of different anatomical stuff. And so so if I said to you, I know you sent me a picture of the cochlear and vestibular system. And so that, I believe, is an older rendering. I'm not sure exactly what text is it from?
Gray's Anatomy, 1893.
Okay. And so that's one of the references you use. And so how do you synthesize them all?
What do you mean?
So if you look at different anatomy texts, they kind of have, I know they're all the body, but they're from different perspectives, different, one might be looking directly on it, another one from above, another one in cross section. What's the process you go through to kind of understand the anatomy?
I look at all the pieces that need to be there and what's most important to be shown. And then I just kind of do what I feel is most aesthetically pleasing.
So there's an element of not just being anatomically correct, but making it pleasing. Correct? Beautiful.
Yes. I think it's beautiful.
Right. But there actually are what I would consider, for lack of a better word, ugly anatomic. They're kind of more clinical, if that makes sense, or
exactly.
They're just kind of a little cold or harsh, if
exactly.
I don't know if that's the right word. So when you first started out, what were the areas of the body that you found the most fascinating?
Well, in artistic anatomy, you're really working with surface anatomy because it's to understand the form beneath the structure for doing portraits and figure drawing. So that's what I started with, the muscles and some of the bone structures.
Okay, great. And so I assume you do projects for other people?
I do, yeah.
Okay. So talk. Can you talk about the process? Like, so what was your favorite project and what's the process?
My favorite project actually is funny because it's someone who was on your podcast before,
Okay.
Dr. Terry Edwards from
Uh-huh.
Realism Solutions.
Okay.
She hired me to do a series of 6 paintings, which I call the story of sound. The first painting was the outer ear, and then the ear canal, and all the way to the brain and the auditory neural pathways involved in hearing. And she had this long hallway in her office, and we lined them up. And so when you walk down the hallway, you kind of see the whole process of hearing from the ear to the brain. I thought that was super cool.
And so for you, I mean, it's not, I assume you don't just, I mean, maybe you do, but you don't just sit down and do it, right? And so there's a functional component to that, right? So it's not, that's not necessarily going to be represented in Gray's Anatomy. So where do you get kind of that functional information from?
I do some on my own with Terry. She provided some references, and she knew what she wanted. So she, provided some different references, and then I kind of combined them to make the art.
Yeah, I think that's probably the hardest process is the communication between the clinician and the artist, and understanding not necessarily the structure, but how the structure affects function, if that makes sense,
Right.
or how the structures have to be right to represent function. I mean, I'll confess to you, I've been trying to do it. One of the reasons I stumbled into you is I've been trying to do a rendering of the difference between electrical and acoustic hearing, between a cochlear implant and regular hearing, and getting people to really delve deeply into the workings of the inner ear is pretty hard. I mean, people want to be, I would say there are anatomical illustrators, which is different than an anatomical artist who then understands the function behind the art.
Yes, absolutely.
So a project like that, like, what type of time investment is that on you? I mean, I'm just really this is something I can't do. No matter how much I tried, I could not do what you do. And so I'm fascinated about the amount of time it takes for you to do it.
That project took months. I do work closely with the clinicians, and throughout, I send progress updates just to make sure while I'm creating that we're going down the right track. And you guys are super busy, so I don't always get answers right away, which is fine. But it just it usually takes a few months. Yeah.
So the average project is several months.
Well, that was a series of 6 paintings. For one painting, it might be around a month.
Okay. And
so
do you work on multiple at once?
If I have multiple, I do. I like jumping around from one to another.
So what are you working on now? Is that a display, or is that actually what you're working on, the rib cage?
Yeah, this is what I'm working on now. It's a rib cage drawing. Okay,
great. And orthopedics seems to be something that because I see 2 knees, I think they're not arms. I think they're knees.
They are knees. Yeah.
Right. And so great. And so what's the craziest project you've ever done?
Craziest. There was one where I did a full body musculoskeletal drawing, which took me 120 hours, which is a lot. It's more than I usually spend on one. But it was extremely detailed. It was a lot of fun to do. I put all of my heart into it. So
do you know where all your pieces are at this point, or no?
I do. Well, I know where a lot of them are.
All right. Are there any publicly displayed?
Yeah. Well, I don't know what you mean by publicly, but in offices.
Right. Well, I mean, I guess the issue is like, I guess a lobby is more publicly displayed than an office, right? So I don't really know what I mean by that, but it sounds like that, so where people could go look at it, I guess, is the.
Yeah. I have a client right now I'm working for at Wexford Labs, downtown in the bioscience core. Sure. And I'm doing some work up there this month. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's right. And so do you do biological, non-medical stuff, like molecular renderings or anything? I mean, I don't know if you do or don't.
I haven't done any of that yet, but I'm getting very interested in that.
Okay. Yeah, that would make sense. And how about devices? Do you do device renderings as well?
I haven't done any of that yet either, but I'm always open and curious for new work.
So, how did you, or why did you decide to just, I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm in the medical field, so I think this is great stuff. But, most artists, I don't think narrow down to just medical, right? And so
Yeah.
what made that for you? Medical is probably not the right, anatomical, right? So it's not all medical, right? Because a pill is medical, but I don't think we necessarily need a rendering of a pill. So what made you decide to do that, or how's been your path? Are there mentors who do only this type of art, or how does that work?
I don't know anyone who only does this type of art. And that is part of what brought me here, is because when I had art shows, I just had lots of medical professionals like, oh my gosh, I can't find this anywhere. So I started getting a lot of commissions, and then I started selling prints online, and there's just a real demand for it. And I love it. So I'm going as long as people want it.
And so I know you do prints of older classic anatomy, correct?
Yeah.
And so is that an Etsy store? I can't remember. Is that on Etsy?
I have an Etsy store, and I have my own website where I sell print.
And what's the website?
doctorsartgallery.com.
Okay. So if you want to go and take a look at mostly your work, I believe, but also your work and some classic versions, right? Am I correct?
That's right.
Right, Beth? And so you can go look at, that's right, drartgalleries.com, right? And so I have this mailing that you gave to me, and it's on there. And is that how you get most of your work?
That's how I get a lot of my work. Yeah. Before the pandemic, I got most of it from art shows, and then the art world shut down. So it's mostly online. And now I'm getting back into shows again.
Are there medical art shows?
There's not, but there are medical professionals or someone who has someone in their family everywhere.
Okay. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. And so how else have you been able to get, like, so people find you, or what other strategies have you used to kind of get yourself out there? Art shows and your store, anything else?
I am just kind of getting into the marketing part of business. They don't teach you business in art school. So I am taking some business classes now to understand that better. But right now it's just art shows and online and word of mouth.
So what type of I mean, you mailed me. I didn't, you sent me a mailer. So that was smart. So are you mailing to different groups of physicians? Is that what you're doing?
Well, that was actually from Dominic Bartola, one of your patients. There should be a gift note in there.
Oh, that's so funny. So that's terrible of me. I just assumed you sent it to me. And what's in here, boy, I feel bad. He probably was like, did he ever get it? Is your card, but the card is facing me backwards. So actually, let me, well, now I have to send a thing to Dominic. I don't know. I've had it for a while. So now I feel bad. So I guess the only thing is flip it over. So that's how I was like, wow, she sent this to a bunch of people. This is crazy. So, okay.
Well, I guess I know a new marketing technique now.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, I think that is one, but I was like, wow, she's really good. She knew that I knew the ear and everything. That's pretty amazing. So, again, if people want to find you, it's tell people the website.
It's doctorsartgallery.com.
Okay. And so if anybody wants to get any diagrams done or commissioned images or anything like that, Beth is the person. Her work is beautiful. You can see it behind there. So is that a commissioned, or the cochlea back there? Is that commissioned, or is
that's actually part of the series for Dr. Terry Edwards.
Okay. Yes, I do know Terry. She has been on the podcast. So, well, this has been great. I think it's really a fascinating world, and it's great to know a anatomical artist because I don't know any. So you're my first. So I consider you my collection of friends. But the other question I always ask everybody is, what's your favorite sound?
My favorite sound is definitely music, and I like all kinds, but I have to be listening to music to create art.
That's great. That's great. So for everybody, this is Beth Eckel. She's from the Doctor's Art Gallery. You can find it in Etsy, or you can go online. She's beautiful diagrams, and I really appreciate you coming on the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for tuning in to the Listen Up podcast. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get updates on future episodes.